So I want to thank you guys for having me here. Tough slot to take just before lunchtime. I always loved going to seminars right before the hypoglycemia kicked in. So if you guys are leaving, I'm just going to assume that you're hungry and not because of the presentation. So a little formal introduction for myself. I played basketball for University of Manitoba under Coach Rick Suffield for 2.5 years. Then went on to complete my athletic therapy degree at the University of Winnipeg, where I met Adam and the rest of the crew here. Worked with Coach Crook. I had the opportunity to work with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, the national volleyball team, as I was completing classwork for my master's in medical rehab. So basically what I'm trying to get across is that we've been able to take, from the athletic standpoint of someone who actually participated in sport, and bridge the gap with the science and see where we can meet in the middle. Right now, I'll just get them to put their hand up. Dave Beakley is my head strength conditioning coach at McDole Performance Systems. And Mark is actually a student of mine from the University of Manitoba right now. He's going to be doing most of the drills, as Dave's a little bit out of commission at the time. So one thing that we see at our specialized facilities, and there's a few of them here in the city, and they certainly are much more popular. When I played basketball at a high school level and a university level, there weren't these specialized training facilities. And what's amazing to me is that we have all this knowledge and all this information, yet most of the kids that we see that come through our place are in such poor shape. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just sedentary lifestyle and things like that. But one thing that we're able to sort of, I guess, help you guys out as coaches and things of that nature is that we're able to sort of do a lot of preparation work before they go on to your respective sports. So the thing we're going to talk about today, okay, and I'm going to go into some detail with it, is what we call our dynamic warm-up. Now, most of the places that, most of the colleagues that I have, they all have some sort of basis or principles on their warm-up, okay? And what we kind of want to get across to you guys is that we're going to go through a series of our drills with you today, okay? Hoping that you guys can implement this stuff instead of just your static stretching and calisthenics, all right? So what we have on tap here is I'm going to go through and explain all the individual warm-up drills. I'm going to demonstrate them with Mark, give me a little bit of an explanation for all of them. Dave then is going to take these guys through the dynamic warm-up that I'm sure many of them have done before. And then if we have some time, I'm going to give some on a Q&A, or actually some of our top 4 exercises that you guys can do in the gym to increase speed and strength and conditioning and things like that on your own time. So our focus with our dynamic warm-up, as I said before, has got to do with increasing all those attributes with athletic ability that we get asked to improve when kids come to us. So endurance, balance, strength, flexibility, coordination, those kinds of things. And so I think all of us would agree here that a static stretch, holding the hamstring, lying down on the ground, light jog warm-up, doesn't really prepare you for the demands that are in sport. Fair to say? Okay? So many times we see kids come out, throw the ball down, shoot some hoops, a little bit of this, team stretch over here, those kinds of things, and nothing, they're not prepped for anything. There's no sort of excitation of the nervous system. There's no increasing of the core temperature except for them just playing. And what happens is they just end up getting poor motor habits all the time. What I mean by that is they're just reinforcing those movements that you guys probably struggle to get them to, you know, keep their knees apart instead of landing with their knees in, flexed over at the spine, things like that. So here's an opportunity, all right, for us to teach these things. Now, one thing I will asterisk when we go into this dynamic warm-up is, and we've had this just recently with our CP kids and our provincial kids, are that once we get through the chunk of this dynamic warm-up, they pretty much are ready to go home. Fair to say? You guys? All right. So what I spoke about earlier and what we talk about is general physical preparation. What I mean by that is it's almost like the baseline of a pyramid. And the longer time we spend with our kids dealing with general physical preparation, regardless of sport. So our CFL athletes that we have, we've had the pleasure to work with some guys in the NFL, have guys in the UFC, and these young kids and all our grassroots athletes, the biggest thing is that we have to spend so much time. The longer we can spend in that general physical preparation phase, which is just very basic stuff, it allows us to have so much more specialized work at the end. And if you miss that, then you can only build your pyramid so high. Okay? So what we're going to do is, obviously what we want to do is we want to go through 4 key concepts that I wrote down for you guys, all right, to have, that we want to make sure when we do these movements that we're sticking with them. Number 1 is always do everything through a full range of motion. Okay? So for example, one of our special exercises is a jumping jack. You guys are going to be like, big deal. But so many times when we get to see an athlete that can't keep their ankles dorsiflexed, which is very important for speed, they don't straighten their arms out way over top of their head, they're just going through the motions. And that is what, as I said, reinforces those poor motor patterns all the time. So number 1 importance is always do it through a full range of motion. The second deal, here's a relationship between the quality and the speed that you do the motions. So when we start off and we teach our dynamic warm-up, which takes the first session of our first 2 or 3 sessions when an athlete comes to see us, it takes about 45 minutes for us to just go through this. And our intention is that by the time they get done, they bang through it in about 15 minutes at the end, and they're in shape. So what we can do when we say we do the relationship between quality and speed is that we obviously are taking our time through each and every single motion and not just blasting by it. Number 3 is to perform each of these exercises, when it applies, equally to both sides. So many times we hear that, hey coach, I'm really good on my left leg with this single leg squat. I'm not so good on my right. Things of that nature. We have to make sure that that athlete is balanced, okay? And that just, and the last one is to stay continuous with this. So I'm assuring you, if you implement this dynamic warm-up or some structure, or some element of it, we're going to give you a whole list, probably about 40 or so exercises today. Usually just break them down to about 15 of them. Stay continuous with it, because if you don't, they're going to hate you that you made them do it and go through all this work, and then you just scrapped it and got rid of it. And 2, they're just going to, as I said, it's something that should be just, as I said, continually put into their program so you can get the best results. So what we're going to do is I'm going to bring Mark out now. And we're going to go through, there's 3 main phases of the dynamic warm-up. The first one is the stationary movements, and what I mean by that is everything's done in one spot, obviously, okay? 2 is going to be our movement prep. All right, so what we do is we start to move, we get a little bit of adduction, so lateral speed, linear speed, those kinds of things. And 3, most importantly, which I think we'll spend a little bit extra time on if we have it, is to do our muscle activation. Does everyone understand what I mean by muscle activation? So to go through what muscle activation means is that muscles are generally asleep. Okay, so if you haven't kind of woken them up and prepped them, to do as such, you're not going to get the results you want out of them. Okay, I'm sure there are people here that have participated and said, hey, I went through this warm-up, I felt really good when I got on the court, and I went through a warm-up, a little bit of a stretch, and I played like garbage. Then other times they come on, and they don't warm up, and then they play like $1 million. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to like minimize the amount of, excuse me, how do I say this, sort of difference between just coming on and not doing anything and waking up those muscles and being like, hey, now they're prepped and ready to go, without what I said the first time, fatiguing them so that you can't perform. So the first one we're going to go through, very basic, okay? For lack of a better term, we call it prisoner squat. I'm going to get Mark to show it on this angle, then on this angle. Everything we do is for the number 8. Don't ask me why it's not a special number. Don't get caught up on it. If you want to take 7, take 7, take 9, take 9. Okay? So what we're going to do is prisoner squat. He's going to squat down, okay, and up. So he's going to go a little bit faster than that for 8. We'll do 3. Okay, I'm going to get him to turn, show from this side. What we're looking for in the bottom position, he's going to stay here, stay down in the bottom position. And we'll make sure that his back is at an athletic angle. His knee is just at or below or behind the toe, okay? And that his heels, very important, stay on the ground. A lot of times what you'll see, you can stand up, is athletes will get in this position and they'll be on their toes. Again, because they've been taught so many times for breaking down and things like this, they think this is a squat. It's not a very athletic position, and I said it's a lot of tight calf work and things of that nature, okay? So make sure that the heels stay on the ground, okay? Second one we're doing, again, is the jumping jacks. But jumping jacks done correctly, so go ahead, Mark, for 6. Again, very high, okay? Good, and what we're looking for with this for you guys for speed is what we want to make sure is that we have no lazy ankles. A lot of times when you guys have ankle problems with your athletes, if they're rolling ankles, they very rarely will roll the ankle, if you can agree, if it's dorsiflexed or the toes are pointed to the sky. It's very hard. That ankle is in a closed, packed position. That's where they'll tape an ankle. The athlete sits on the table. Not sure what's going on. Back up. Even more? Okay. So in the closed, packed position, what we want to focus on with these athletes, and every time they leave the floor, this is my cell phone. There we go. What we want to focus on with these athletes is that their toes are pointed to the sky all the time, okay? So when he does the jumping jacks, his toes are actually pointed up, and it's overemphasized. He's up in the air, up in the air, up in the air, up in the air. It's very important for speed. I'll get to that after, okay? The third one we're going to do is a seal, okay? So he's going to do a seal jump, okay? So all it is it's a jumping jack on the bottom, and he's crossing his arms at the top. Good. Again, these are done in sequence, so you're going to go prisoner squat, jumping jacks, flings or seal, or excuse me, seals. Now we're going to go through our ankle complex. So our first one's going to be, and this is one that we see a lot coming through our facility, is problems with the Achilles. Okay? So it's very important that you warm these up even before the person comes in and just all of a sudden jumps and gets going. They grab that ball, they go right to the hoop and do a layup. Want to warm that Achilles to that ankle complex up. So the first one he's going to do is pogos, again, focusing on the toes going to the sky for 8, standing in a row. He's going to do the same one on the left leg, and again on the right. Okay, so we've covered that. Now, I tried to focus some of these movements, excuse me, with the concept of basketball in mind. And a lot of the lateral work that we do has to do, a lot of lateral work that you guys do, excuse me, has to do with obviously with having strong adductors and adductor complex, get a lot of groin pulls and things of that nature. The reason being, the hips always do the work, and all this is on a stretch. So all this inner thigh area is always on a stretch, and this one's always contracting, okay? So what happens with over time, these get tight, these get weak. Then that ball gets passed, there's a little bit of water on the floor, the athlete just steps just a tiny bit more than what they're used to, and that's when that groin goes, or hamstring, okay? So the first one we're gonna do, we're just gonna do 8 in-outs, okay? So again, there you go, warming up those ankles. Dave's actually gonna show you a little bit of the workout we do with the kids, how we implement that to warm up that hip complex. But again, gonna get Mark to face this wall. And he's keeping a nice athletic position, even lower. There you go. And making sure that he's not flexed over and all those kinds of things, okay? Sorry. Next we're gonna do, okay, again, to do with linear speed. I'll just stay over in the corner. Adam can present for me and yell at me. And who says Britney Spears' job is hard, eh? It's the earpieces. There we go. Good? Okay, so the next one we're gonna do, obviously we worked on some lateral aspect, okay, warming up those hips, the adductor complex. Now we wanna work on is the hip flexor and hamstring aspect, because a lot of basketball, let's be honest, is obviously in a linear pattern, so they're going up and down the floor. So we're gonna do a split squat jump, okay? The important thing is that I want you guys to focus on is that we're not just blasting through this, okay? So we're not here, switching, the knees are all over the place. What we want is good athletic posture, boom, catch, boom, catch. We always talk to our athletes about deceleration, okay? If you can't decelerate, you can't accelerate, okay? So with Mark, what we're gonna do is he's gonna take 2-second pause in each position, switch, even faster, There you go. And again, you'll see when the kids get going, some of these guys have done this before, you'll see that the speed is a little bit better. Okay, next thing we're gonna go through, our first section is our movement drills, okay? So what we're gonna do is, what we always talk about at our place, okay, let's just stand on the end. What we always talk about at our place is, if you can't skip, you can't run, okay? So what the skipping aspect does for us is allows us to assess the athlete, okay, in terms of how much power they can produce, how their arm mechanics are. And you guys might think this is kind of slow and boring, like, yeah, it's skipping. It's unbelievable how many athletes can't do this. And these are provincial level athletes that do a very complex sport, have to listen to your guys' coaching instructions, the technical aspect, know where other players are, yet they can't even skip down the floor, okay? So we're gonna start off with, so Mark's just gonna skip, just to the attack line, jump, arms up. So there we go, there's a prime example. So now I'm gonna pick on Mark as a student and I'm gonna get somebody else out here. What sport do you play, Mark? What sport do you do? Where's my guy? There he is, come here. Right there, here we go. So now we're gonna pretend like we know how to skip. We're gonna go to the hash, so just skip like a layup, like you're gonna do a layup. There you go, that's better. There we go, perfect. Again, not to pick on Mark for this, but it's an example of how easy, if you guys noticed, he was same arm, same leg. I actually don't know how he did it, to be quite honest, but same arm, same leg running in this motion, okay? Then we have our athlete here that's just done it with us a few times, and it's much better, okay? So we want to make sure that we're focusing on, as I said, proper mechanics, okay? So here's a good teaching tool. What we're going to do is we're going to get Mark to go back, and we're getting him to focus on actually jumping, opposite arm, opposite leg, and get as high as you can each time, okay? Here we go. I didn't bring him here, folks, as a circus freak either, I promise. I didn't, okay? So now we'll go back and get you to do it one more time. And here we go. There, perfect, okay? Each time, make sure we got proper arm mechanics. I always say that his hand has to be out of his pocket, then up to his chin, so that was very well done. And there's an example, you guys. Mark's been competing in mixed martial arts now, and has been training with us for about 3 or 4 months. It's a very basic mechanical movement, and he has difficulty doing it, okay? Again, I'll have to buy him lunch for bringing him out. And okay, front crossovers, I'll use you again. Sorry. Come on, man. So one thing we guys have noticed, the guys, who's all here familiar with karaoke? Okay, why? I'm not gonna try and push you guys, but why would you use karaoke? I know you guys can't yell answers, but any idea? Neither do we. I don't think there's a sport, which I find is interesting with calisthenics, when they say karaoke, 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 and the kid learns this pattern, boom, 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 okay? Cross your feet over, and then as soon as he gets on the floor, don't cross your feet, don't cross your feet. You know? So what we're gonna focus on is we're gonna work on this crossover here, and we're gonna go front crossover only. So I'll demo first. Again, in that prisoner squat position, athletic, cross like this, okay? Now again, I know you guys don't want any type of feet crossing at all, okay? But I'll get to the point with why we teach this in a second. So we're gonna get him to get down in that athletic position. He's gonna get low, nice and controlled, cross the right leg over the left to the end. Boom, boom, boom. Good. One thing I like about this that he's showing as a demo, his shoulders are not rising. So he's not doing this, which is wasted space as well. I'm overemphasizing, okay? Crossover. The reason why we teach crossover is if all of a sudden you stop for direction, you can go this way, right away, okay? With karaoke, you're gonna trip up over your feet right away. So again, reinforcing a motor pattern with a traditional warm-up movement that we just find is, you know, for lack of a better term, useless. Okay, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna go through a lunge walk. And again, seems very rudimentary or very basic, but again, we just were with the CP kids, well, 3 weeks ago, and did a length of lunging, and their legs were toast. Body weight. No barbell, no weight vests, no jumping, you know, things like that. So with another movement along with the skip, with a walking lunge, they're able to assess proper knee mechanics, ankle, hip flexibility, things like that, that you can watch your athletes. And if they're all over the place, I said you're looking for some key things like the knee collapsing in, okay? They're flexed over, very short stroke, okay? Things like that. Those are things that you guys should be writing down because those are injuries just waiting to happen. So I'm gonna get him to lunge. Again, chest up. Very basic movement to do. They'd be very surprised. Okay, builds up a lot of strength in the quad for certainly deceleration. That's good. Then if they do 2 or 3 rounds of this, controlled, they'll be cursing your name the next day. Next what we're gonna do is the same thing for the side lunge. Again, try to emphasize that you guys are a little bit more basketball oriented. So the exact same movement, but we're now gonna go lateral, okay? So you're here, athletic position, side, lunge, up. Okay, any injury? No, okay, good. Good, and try to keep your shoulders in line, like there's a rope there. There you go, up, good. There we go, good. All right, next one we're gonna do is muscle activation, okay? So, again, we went through a little bit of a series of our movement prep, our stationary movements, so very quick to be done. And when we're doing this workout, you guys, it's 8 here, 8 like this, prisoner squat, into the lunge, those kinds of things like that. So they get through it fairly quickly. That's the sort of cadence that we want to keep with it. Now with our muscle activation, which I find is actually one of the more important things to work on, okay, is to work on the fact that with a lot of our athletes, they're sitting all day, and you guys can attest to this if you're teachers and things like that. If you're sitting all day, your hip flexors are extremely tight. And one of the problems that happens with that is the glutes fall asleep, okay? So when you get out there and you guys need your quads, hamstrings, and glutes to generate all that power, these are extremely tight. One of the tricks I like to give to our young basketball players, I say I can increase your vertical by 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches in the first day. So how do you do that? What we do is we end up with these being so tight, after we go through our dynamic stretch of this hip flexor, they're actually able to jump and reach higher by a solid 2 or 3 inches almost every time. We test that on the Vertec. So those are, as I said, we get results all the time with that. 2 or 3 inches almost within the first day. A lot of kids complain of low back pain. Those are the cause. That iliopsoas complex is really the cause of that, okay? So what we want to do is, along with the fact that we just stretched and warmed them up, okay? What I want to focus on is a little bit of muscle activation. So Mark's going to get down on the ground. Back. Okay? His knees are going to be together, and so are his ankles. And all we want is what we call a hip pop-up. Okay? And down. Up again. And what this is doing is, he's driving through with his heels, and he's activating his glutes. Okay? Next what we're going to do is a single leg hip pop-up. So he's up again. Good. And again, muscle activation. He's going to do the left leg too, so he doesn't run around in a circle all day. Tough crowd, tough crowd. Okay, next what we're going to do, legs straight. Okay, again, a little bit more activation of the hamstrings and the hip flexors, okay? So what he's going to do is he's going to take his right leg and he's kind of trying to reach it to the top. There you go, toe up again, no lazy ankles. And this is doing 2 things. This one actually serves 2 purposes. Number 1, activates the hip flexors to get them warmed up, and 2, stretches out the hamstrings. Okay? Quickly flipping over to his stomach. Okay, what he's going to work on, low back, hamstring, and glutes again. A little bit of the upper shoulder complex as well, okay? He's going to go left arm and right leg, raising to the sky and down. Good, 6 on each leg, 6 to 8 on each arm. Now the opposite. Good. Then we also like to put this together and do both arms and both legs at the same time. There you go. Again, activating the glutes, warming up the back, things like that, okay? The last one we do is, we always hear everything about the rotator cuff. There's also called the hip cuff as well. So we're gonna be on all fours. Okay, again, warming up the hips. Again, you guys, because if this is doing all the work, you wanna make sure that these are nice and activated, okay? Want to focus on, with all this being again, in an athletic position for the prisoner squat, it doesn't change. That upper back doesn't change just because they're on the ground. So I always have to give the cue that if I was to put a glass of water or set a dinner table up on his back, it should not rotate off. It should not fall off, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start left leg. It's called a fire hydrant for the reason you'll see. Put my hand here, done, and up again. Okay? Now he's going to put that leg out at a 45-degree angle. There. Back just a bit. Back leg a bit. Left leg. Back a bit. More. There you go. And now lift off the ground. And down. So I encourage you guys, if you haven't tried this before and you don't think this is a difficult exercise, doing 8 of those fire hydrants and 8 of those 45-degree raises, doing about 2 or 3 sets, you're going to feel that a lot in there. And that increases that speed for that athlete. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is, we're gonna show you guys how to kind of put all this stuff together. And Coach Beeks is gonna go through this with the guys. There is an aspect of the in-outs that we're gonna do today, just for demonstration's sake, that will also get you guys in shape. If they've missed practice or anything like that, it kind of saves them from the man makers, but you're gonna see them break down pretty quickly, okay? So without further ado, I'll let Coach Beeks take this over.
Let's get center court spread out. Here. Okay, spread out, guys. We got the whole court. You're gonna be up front, just for demonstration's sake. I think, have you guys been through it? Okay, the rest of you guys have, all right. Okay, so here, you'll be facing there. So the first one Chris already went through. We'll get all you guys to do it. We'll go 8 reps for everything. Hands on head, feet shoulder width apart, toes straight ahead. And it's gonna be the prison squats. Nice and deep and get a good tempo to it. Keep the chest up. So a couple things that Chris pointed out, we can see the heels are coming up there. So you wanna sit back a little bit more. Keep those feet flat. Okay, next one is going to be the pogo hops. So on your toes, the 8 quick hops, and we're going to try to dorsiflex when we're doing these, so the speed hops and point your toes up in between each jump. The small and quick, guys, these ones will come after. So hold on just a quick sec. These ones are going to be a little bit quicker, so it's going to be here, just like that, and then we'll do the single leg after. And everybody on your right leg. And when we've done that, go to your left. Now one thing with you guys all starting with that other one there, when we went a bit higher, you kicked your legs forward instead of pointing your feet up. Your legs shouldn't go anywhere. So we're gonna go a little bit higher and point those toes up in the air. So we're here, legs aren't going anywhere. Just up like that, okay? Try not to move your legs. Go ahead, 8 of those. Okay, into the jumping jacks. Palms forward, fingers spread fully. Arms stay straight the whole time. We come above our heads. We're gonna touch our thumbs above our heads. Let's not be lazy with these. Like Chris mentioned, full range of motion, very important. And with our feet, again, we're gonna point our toes up. This one's a little bit tricky, but point our toes up as we go in and out. So feet together, arms by your side, palms forward, 8 jumping jacks. Go ahead. Okay, sorry.
Good example of the core back left. Pretty simple movement for jumping jacks. Anybody see?
Do you know what you're doing, Ron?
Did we get one?
Yeah. Do you know what you're doing?
Basic pattern. Arms and legs extending at the same time. He has difficulty with
So feet together, let's all go together, feet together, palms forward, fingers spread, arms at your side. Go again, let's go, 8 jacks. Okay, next one, the flip jacks. Arms out in front of you, feet together. And as the legs come apart, our arms come apart. Get a good pull back, get a good stretch, go ahead. Okay, let's get everybody on their backs. If you guys want to sit up and watch the demo, we're going to do the hamstring one, so legs straight. Just a straight leg kick. You're going to kick up as high as you can, but when you're doing this, again, I want you to point your toe up like that and kick as high as you can. So a little bit quicker, get a good pull on your hamstring. 8 on your right leg, then 8 on your left leg. Keep the heads down, just relax. You don't want to support your head the whole time. You want to keep the legs straight. So back here, keep your legs straight. Just going to shorten the range of motion. So when you come up, just like that, okay? Don't bend your leg to get further, okay? It'll come along if you keep doing it properly. Okay, the next one is iron cross. You're going to lay on your back with your arms out. Now what we're going to do, we'll all go with our right leg first. Your right foot, we're going to swing up to our left hand and back down. With this, you want to try your best to keep both your shoulders on the ground. We're not rotating our whole body to get our leg up. We're going to try to keep our leg as straight as possible with this one. Go ahead. Again, keep the heads down. We don't want to support it the whole time. A lot of strain on the neck. Get that arm up. When you're done your right leg, you can switch to your left. All right, when you're done those, you guys can lay flat. You're going to bend your knees. Lay flat, bend your knees. No, on your back, still. Knees up. So it's the hip extension that Chris also demonstrated earlier. So again, very important you drive with your heels and not your toes. If you're driving with, you want to keep your feet flat, but if you're driving with your toes, you're going to activate a little bit of quads. We're trying to wake up the glutes, loosen up our hip flexors here. So driving through your heels, you're going to drive up, squeeze your glutes, and back down 8 times. And then once you guys are all done that, we'll go to single leg. So for single leg, you're just going to straighten one of your legs. Make sure you're still keeping the foot that's driving, keep it flat, drive through the heel. Really try to get those hips up. Let me do the other leg, just turn this way, just so everyone can see from a different angle.
Okay, so I'm going to pick on somebody here for you guys again. Not that he's doing anything wrong per se, but it's just a correction that we want to make. What we find is that with all the athletes and all the sports that we see, they're so quad dominant. Okay, I don't want to get too caught up in hamstring dominance versus quad dominance. Okay, but what happens is we see a lot of athletes again. You'll see them stay on their toes and their knees are way past their toes. So they use their quads to generate any type of power, not their glutes and hamstrings. So what's your first name again? Willie? Okay, Malik, sorry. So what happens is lay back down again for me. So Malik was using his left leg, okay? We're doing that single leg hip pop up, okay? Just pressing through, okay? There you go. So now you guys see he shifts as he gets to the top. He's changed it now, which is fine, okay? Because I said it's just a correction. It's just something very small and simple we can do. Okay? When he pushes through with his left leg, as he was trying to generate force, he was driving onto his toe. Okay? So through the heel, that's when we know we're getting more hamstring and glutes. He was pushing onto his toe. It's just a little bit of an imbalance between his hamstring and quad. Okay? So that's an example of something we want to like try and correct. Say, stay off the toes, stay off the toes with this. Okay? So as he was trying to generate more power, okay, he has to go to his toes, he has to activate his quads. Okay? So that's an example of something we can chat about that we can chat with our athletes about.
Okay, next one, rolling hamstring stretch. What you're going to do from a sitting position, you're going to roll back, right onto your back, bring your legs up and tuck them into your chest. Then we're going to roll forward into a V-sit, where you guys all spread your legs. And we're going to sit and reach just for a quick touch, then roll back. Does that make sense? So what we're going to do, right here, you're going to roll on your back, tuck your knees, roll back up into a V-sit, so spread your legs, and reach. Really try to reach, and then back into the next one. Just like that. Try to get the legs nice and wide and try to get a good deep reach. Better than that. Really try to push it when you guys are coming for the reach in the middle. Okay, next one, I want you guys to be facing forward on your right shoulder. You'll be on your side, straight legs. You're bringing your top leg back, and you're going to point your toes down. Keep your legs straight though. And what you're going to do with your toe pointed down, you're going to raise that leg up and back down. A lot of guys will have difficulty keeping the toes pointed down. You don't have to plank, you can just lay on your side and just really try to keep it internally rotated there, like that.
One thing you guys want to emphasize with your base, guys that are over sort of 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and above, especially with those.
Rotate the hips back just a little bit, like there. It's like, gotta do the bottom leg.
They can extend that leg straight. Instead kind of moving direct to make sure it's nice and long. Very important for injury prevention in the future. Okay?
So stay on your right shoulder, guys. Stay on your right shoulder with the legs apart. We're gonna do the bottom leg now. So just keep, everything stays the same, legs stay straight, and you're just gonna raise the bottom leg like that. You don't have to worry about pointing the toes down on the bottom foot. When we're done that, we'll flip to the other side.
Don't raise the ankles, guys. Toes up. Oops.
I was gonna go stomach first. Superman's first. Yeah. Okay, we're on your stomachs. Now we're gonna go to Superman's. We'll go both arms and legs first, so arms right out in front of you. Like I said, we're gonna warm up your low back and your glutes. We're gonna lift our chest off. Try to lift our thighs off the ground. Now when we come back down, try not to flop around like fish out of water. Control your body. Now we're going to go, we'll stay in that same position, but we're just going to raise our right arm and our left leg. When you've done that, flip to the other arm and leg. Like Chris said, this is fairly slow moving as we're walking these guys through the steps, taking them through, making a lot of corrections. It will take upwards 30, 45 minutes. Once these guys have gone through it 4 or 5 times, they can usually get in a gym and do it themselves properly in about 15 minutes and have a really good warm-up, be ready to go. Next one is going to be scorpions, guys. So let's get arms out. It's just like the iron cross that we did on our back. So we're going to bring our right foot up to our left hand. Again, try to keep your shoulders on the ground. Don't rotate our whole body. Okay. 5 sets. Switch legs, yeah. When you guys are done this, you can get on all fours, please. Okay, everybody on all fours. Next one is the hydrant. So we'll show this one leg from this angle, then you'll turn for the other leg, okay? So what you guys want to make sure, your back stays flat and your hips don't rotate. So a lot of guys think the goal with this is to get their knee as high as possible when they do this. You don't want your hips to be rotating, so you want everything to stay level. Like Chris said, if you put a plate of food on their back or a glass of water, it should sit there for the whole set. So this is being done very well. Okay, switch legs, turn and face me. So you can see he keeps his back very flat, his hips very level. Again, the goal, you eventually will get higher and higher the stronger you get with this and the more flexibility you get. But at the start, it will be a very short range of motion. Okay, next, we're going to go straighten the legs out, guys. Come straight leg. We'll go this leg here. You turn your toes forward. So just like here. Again, the goal is to keep the hips nice and level. This one's a lot more difficult. You're going to raise it and down. Again, it's a very short range of motion to start. You'll find a lot of athletes with not much glute development. They won't even be able to get their foot off the ground to start. Pat, try not to lean, bring it in a little bit. So here's a good example, just keep going. You see the hips are rotating quite a bit. His foot's getting quite high, and his hips really tilt. If I were to put my hand here, now try, really shortens the range of motion. You feel the difference? I'll switch legs, face the crowd, I'll turn. When you guys are done this on both legs, let's stand it up.
So again, as Coach Beek said, we kind of went through it, as I said, to go through the full range of motion and make sure that everything was done correctly the first time around. As I said, for lack of a better term, we took the dynamic out of the dynamic warm-up just to see at the beginning, just so when you teach your athletes at the beginning, all the movements they have to do correctly. The next thing we're going to go through is our in-outs. And we always use this to kind of fire the guys up, get a little bit of a sweat, increase that core temperature. We're going to see some guys drop out. Now, when we've come to schools or we go to teams or we warm guys up or teams come to see us at our place, some coaches have a flip out because the guys are in the tank. Like right away, they're all, this is too much for them. That's all, all these excuses basically. What I want to go through is that this is something that because of the way that the body is contracting, so it's concentric contraction, okay, so positive contraction, and it's an isometric, okay, there's not a lot of damage that gets done. So I always use the example, if you had two individuals, actually Glenn Bergeron from the University of Winnipeg actually always said this to just sort of differentiate between the two contractions. One, you had two individuals and you had a 100-story building, and the gentleman that went up the stairs and took the elevator down would be exhausted at the end of the day. He'd get tired a lot faster. The guy that took the stairs down and took the elevator back up, he would last a lot longer, but that guy's going to be sore the next day. Okay? The difference being is that it's the negative or the positive of the contraction for what the muscle is doing. With these movements, even though they're gassed and you'll see that they get tired fairly quickly, they're not going to be sore. Yes, will their legs feel like jello shortly thereafter? Would I run your technical shooting drill immediately after? No, definitely not. But what you'll see is the guys get in shape very quickly. You were with us for a summer. When you first did in and outs, pretty disastrous. And as the summer went on, they got pretty easy. Yeah. So they said, very easy, very, as I said, general physical preparation. So Coach Peaks is going to go through this just like we're in a setting, okay, at our gym, all right?
Okay, so what we're going to do, guys, is get everyone with your feet about 4 inches apart. It's going to half squat position. Now the goal with this is fast feet. I want your feet moving in and out real quick. It's about the width of your foot, so I don't want it to look like jumping jacks. So you'll see what a lot of guys get into is like this. The goal to start is quick feet, so they're going to be here, and it's in and out real quick. If you guys look, it's about the width of my foot. So don't get lazy and get in these big steps. Quick feet. You're going to go in and out 10 times. I'll give you the go and stop. When I say hold, you're going to be just right about shoulder width apart. You're going to squat down into a 90-degree squat. Keep your chest up. And we're going to hold this for 10 seconds. Okay, that's one. We're going to do 5 of those. Let's keep perfect posture. Let's get good depth on all of them. Let's make sure we maintain that foot speed, all right? Ready? Go. 10 and outs. So you see on the first set how quick their feet move. We'll watch every set how it slows down. And hold. Get those butts down, chest up. A little bit lower, fellas. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and in outs. Hold. Butts down, chest up, that looks good. 3, 2, 1, go. Hold. A little bit lower in front, a little bit lower in back. Get that butt down. Try to keep that chest up. Butt down here. 3, 2, 1. Hold. Get those butts down, good. Now if you guys find that you're starting to fold forward, try to pull your shoulder blades back together to help bring that chest back up. 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Let's do the last one, fellas. Okay, butts down. Get those butts down. Keep the chest up. Feet stay flat. 7, 6, get that butt down. Down, 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 down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good, fellas. You guys can bring it in. Thank you very much.
So just an example there, you guys, you saw probably about, as I said, we did about 6 sets, lasting about 15 seconds each, so 100, 110 seconds. Certainly what happens is the guys get tired fairly quickly, and you'll start to see that their posture starts to change, knees start to collapse, they're up on their toes and things like that, okay? So those are things that as I said, as a qualified strength conditioning coach, and there's lots of them in this city, that you should get to come in and work on those things like core, okay? flexibility, all those types of things, so that when they transfer over here, that they're actually a lot stronger. However, what we want to impart with you guys is that if you make those corrections, those postural corrections and proper flexibility and going through everything at a proper range of motion, those things will correct themselves, especially once you start to put them in what I like to say is like a climate of fatigue or when they're tired. And that's what you'll start to see when guys start to break down on defense. You know, they're not as fast when they're in this flexed position because they're tired, they're hanging onto their shorts and things like that, okay? One quick tip that I always like to say that is great for us for basketball, because the squat is always considered one of the more athletic movements, is that if your guys are ever sort of flexed over like this, okay, hanging onto their shorts, one of the things we sort of like to correct them with to be in that athletic position is just tell them to be tired. Pretend you're at a free throw. So they grab here, like this, and then what we do is we just like to take our hands off, and there, and then that's that athletic position that they want to try and be in, okay? So lots of information. What I do is I want to give you guys a couple of, I'll spell them out, okay, for where all these dynamic warm-up tapes can be found. The number one website or sort of speed school in the States is called Parisi Speed School. They have a whole series of DVDs with this. There's just plenty of information. P-A-R-I-S-I, Speed School. Okay? That's where I would probably get a majority of my resources from, okay? Another one that's there is also DeFranco's Training Systems. And again, he goes through a great dynamic warm-up, even for one that's in the weight room that we use often because we don't have all this space. I know you guys are getting there. Perfect, 1 minute for questions. I don't have to answer too much. Questions? Go ahead.
What's the advantage or disadvantage of alternating legs or going on the same leg?
Give me an example.
Just doing a stretch like the hydrant will say.
Okay.
You do the hydrant on one side for 8 times. What would be the advantage or disadvantage from alternating legs?
Oh, you mean like per session, you mean? So like on the left, like do the left on Wednesday, then on Thursday I went back and did the right? No, you should do that. That's correct. Sorry, I missed.
Instead of the iron cross, only doing the right leg.
Oh, just like we said in one of those principles, you want to make sure that the body is balanced. When I spoke at the SAG conference 2 years ago, we talked about what was called structural balance. And what we sort of like to do is cut the body down the middle, okay? And that gives you a chance from a unilateral perspective to sort of see, hey, where's my athlete failing, okay? So you just wouldn't do one side, for example, okay? You would do both. Does that answer your question? No? Okay, I'm missing it then. Oh, in terms of this, I got you, okay. No real disadvantage to that. You're talking about in terms of doing a lunge like this as opposed to 1, 2, like that. That's fine. The only problem that I have seen with that is that your example is a little bit more advanced, okay? So if the athlete can do it, that's great. It increases that difficulty and the task that needs to be accomplished. So it's right leg, then left leg, right leg, then left leg. No problem. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Sorry, I didn't get that. Any other questions? Yes. Great, good question. So what he asked was, when we're doing these warm-ups, do we incorporate them into a practice or a separate day or a day that they're not training? What I want to touch on at the beginning was that when we initially have an athlete, because we see so many athletes that are in such poor condition, it actually can be used as a workout. So when we have kids that come in, young kids that are sort of 12 and 13 years old, this is actually their workout. We go through it twice, okay? But I would not recommend, as you said, until your athletes get conditioned. Like I wouldn't, for example, it's Friday night, you guys probably have a game today or tomorrow. Don't do this. I'm not taking any responsibility for the athletes' poor performance. Like don't do this tonight before they go to work out. This is something that you want to paper layer in each practice, okay? And I think, as I said, that DVD that I recommended goes through that. But what you want to do is, for example, keep everything very low. We'll go through it once. Then slowly get more and more and more. We typically do about 10 exercises, 1 set of in-outs, and the guys are ready to go. Our athletes are ready to go, and it's, as I said, takes about 11 minutes to get going. But definitely paper layer it in. So to answer your question, it's got to do with you as a coach implementing it for your athlete's condition. Yes? So that's a very good question. So what he asked was, is with the dorsiflexion, why we emphasize that? Number one, we said that was to do with teaching lazy ankles. We find that basically so many of our guys come in and all they've worked on is core, core, core. I got great abs, I can do everything. Yeah, but most abdominal movements are done where they're either laying on a ball or they're on the ground and things like that. So the athlete isn't stable. So we have a lot of tight and weak ankle complexes. One thing you're seeing in a trend in the industry, and I will get to the question, this is just my way of getting to it. One thing you will see in the industry is you see these shoes nowadays that are just basically your foot. You know what I mean? There's a slight rubber layer that goes over top. That's got to do with increasing performance because that ankle has been neglected in training all the time. So what we try to do with our dorsiflexion, okay, is that we very rarely ever see an athlete, you know, run like this, that heel strike comes, and that ankle is already ready to go. If it's flexed down like this, the foot stays on the ground much longer. Does that make sense? Okay? Also, there is, I can't remember it off the top of my head, it's probably somebody here that's, that might, but also there's a reflex that actually takes place, that the foot will actually, and they use the example of a tack being on the ground, that if you actually touch down, the foot actually, from the brain and the hip flexor, actually comes off the ground much faster when the ankle is dorsiflexed. So when we teach our athletes to go through our 40-yard dash for the CFL Combine, it's very important that that foot comes off the ground as fast as possible, and that's where we get that dorsiflexion. So we're always trying to emphasize that. Even sitting on a chair, little toe taps for your athletes, certainly strengthens that ankle. For basketball and volleyball, that's just murderous. You know, it's an epidemic with ankle injuries. Anybody else? Yes? Okay. Yeah. So as I said, what we're trying to do is in all these movements are fairly low level. Okay, so we've got a jumping jack, we've got a lunge, got a bound, high knees, things like that. That's when you can teach that motion. I wouldn't be concerned of it in a technical setting, okay? So if you're working on jump shots, yeah, you don't want your athletes working on this. What you're trying to do is, in that, as I said, that general physical preparation phase, with these very low-level controlled movements, there's nothing going on, you know, that's when you work on that, and it does transfer over to them having stronger ankles when they get on the floor, spot up, land, and jump. So no, I wouldn't personally correct them and say, make sure your ankles are like this, because there's so much going through their heads anyways. Am I in the right position? My shot mechanics, all those kinds of things. Does that answer your question? Yeah. When they're off the, no, when they land normally. When they're off the ground, that's when they dorsiflex and they land. Okay, so no lazy ankle. So the difference being, you know, sort of this, like that, we want to make sure that we're keeping that ankle up as much as possible. It's very quick, it's very, very sudden. We want to make sure that we're getting enough ankle activation there. Anybody else, any questions? Lunchtime? Okay, thank you very much, you guys.